In the United States, there's a system called Child Protective Services, known as CPS. CPS protects thousands of children every year from abuse and neglect. However, who is there to make sure that these children are not being abused by the system? The system of CPS is in great need of reform. Children that are removed from their families due to abuse are often further abused by prescribed psychotropic medications, which is mind-altering drugs. The system gets paid extra money for children that are considered special needs. Another way that the system abuses their authority is they fail to allow independent investigations. They do not follow guidelines that protect innocent people. CPS will not turn over their law enforcement people who are making false allegations. There are no true written laws on the books that protects people from being abused by the system. How does CPS abuse the intent of the program? CPS is able to sidestep the due process of law, protections that all us Americans are entitled to underneath our constitutional judicial system. Unlike all other court proceedings, you do not have a right to a jury trial or a public trial. With so-called good intentions, many caseworkers will often tamper with evidence just to match what they feel is really going on with the case. However, they're not always right. Do you think that we should be able to tamper with evidence, even if it's for a good cause? If CPS believes there's a violation against the family, you are not allowed an independent evaluation from your own medical doctor, therapist, or other professionals who may have been involved previously in your family's life before the alleged report of abuse. You do not have the opportunity to show that the accuser may have malice cause for filing a complaint. In fact, the accuser gets to hide behind the protective veil. Really? The false accuser gleefully gets away with just tearing your world apart while you and your family are dragged through the dirt? CPS states that the reason you cannot face your accuser in court is that they fear that people will be afraid to call in suspected cases of abuse, or that people may fear retaliation. However, I disagree. People face rapists and attempted murderers every day in court. Is every person who is accused of a crime guilty of something? Recently, in Austin, a mother was arrested on charges of child endangerment because she was allowing her 9 and 11-year-old to play outside on their cul-de-sac road while she supervised from her front lawn. In juvenile court, parents are denied constitutional rights, such as the right to a jury trial. Parents do not have a legal right to stand for the protection of their children when their children are being knowingly abused in the system, even though their rights have never been terminated. Parents and children are often left to bleed internally, perhaps forever, while the caseworker adds another notch on the chalkboard. Too many children are put into institutions just so CPS numbers can be met. CPS has a quota of how many children must be placed in foster care every month. Chris and Inhorn former CPS workers admit to fulfilling quotas in order to receive grants for the agency. Should broken families equal higher paychecks? Many care and CPS workers resign because they can't stand the corruption in the system. CPS answers to no one. Should the fact that CPS answers to no one, including the judicial system, be allowed? Should any agency have that much control? Currently, there are over 662,000 foster children in the United States. The Child Protective Service Agency is unfortunately a much needed agency to protect children from predators. However, the CPS system does not have a checks and balance system, which leaves room for corruption. Child Protective Services needs reform by instating whistleblower protection laws so CPS workers can make changes without feeling threatened by higher-ups. 93% of all psychotropic medication that is prescribed in this country is dispersed to foster children. All children suspected of having a medical or psychological concern should be seen by a doctor for independent evaluations. No child should be routinely prescribed psychotropic drugs for any kind of behavior control. Families should have a right to obtain independent evaluations from doctors of their own choice. Through therapy, abused children learn to deal with their trauma for the most part without any kind of medications. You are not guilty just because someone accuses you of a crime. CPS should not have a quota for the removal of children. Monetary incentives can influence an investigator to favor weak evidence. No one's paycheck should be enhanced due to the removal of children from their families. The criminal justice system should have a jurisdiction over all child abuse issues. Constitutional guidelines need to be adhered. We need to write our state representatives and we need to ask them to appeal to the Supreme Court. We need a public outcry to demand a checks and balance system. Therefore, to all the child abusers in and out of the system, we, the American public, demand and say no more. No more false claims. No more bogus mental evaluations. Stop drugging our nation's children. We should fight to protect our constitutional rights and America's children. Our children.